All right, let's get started. Make sure we have a good view. Let's see. I know what's going on. Turn up the volume. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Yoga with Imran. This is our last Yoga with Imran on YouTube. But don't worry, we'll be back next week. But I'm switching platforms from YouTube to Google Hangouts, so that way the sessions can be more engaging. People will be able to turn on their camera. People will be able to um, ask questions, and it'll be a new format that will truly feel like a support group. You know, I'm starting to have people come here in Austin in person, and I'm working with a new marketing team, and there's some exciting stuff coming up at BP Harmony. So let's put in the work today to continue our recovery journey. And I'm going through transitions here at BP Harmony. I'm going through transitions in life, and when transitions happen, especially for someone living with this, fragility in their health, then it can be something that tips off one of the markers of bipolar disorder. And so right now in my life, there are changes happening in my job, there are changes happening at BP Harmony, there are changes happening in my personal life. And so my routine is not optimal right now. You know, one of the things I talk about in my book is the importance of building a routine. It's one of the most common advices you'll get in the market when it comes to bipolar disorder recovery, is having a proper routine. And so the routine isn't completely optimal at the moment, and for that reason my sleep has been a little bit off. And it's been raining a lot, and I know rain, when the pressure change happens, it causes some discomfort. But I have my emergency plan in place. I have other plans in place to prevent things from getting out of control. However, imbalances and periods of imbalance also raise questions around identity, around who we are. Are we ourselves? Are we our symptoms? Are we the side effects of our medication? Are we our diagnosis? Who are we? And where does my personality start and end? Where does the illness start and end? Or, who am I? And so this is a common experience for many of us who have been labeled with bipolar disorder, is that, well, if any moment I start getting happy, is this me being happy, or am I going through euphoria? Am I becoming hypomanic? And then when I'm feeling a little bit down, a little bit sad, it's like, oh, am I in a depressive phase, or am I in a cycling phase? And so there's two things that I talk about in my book. The first is to engage in part speech. And I've talked about part speech in the past where instead of saying I am bipolar, switch to saying that I have the bipolar diagnosis. There's a big difference between saying I am bipolar and saying I have the bipolar diagnosis. And that becomes the first step in dissociating the diagnosis from our sense of identity. And you can go into further steps by saying I have a bipolar diagnosis, to say my body has a bipolar diagnosis, to where you can say my body is feeling imbalance. You could say this body is feeling temporary imbalance. And so all of these statements are true, but it really is a matter of framing. So that's part speech, and that's something that I've talked about in the past. Today, what I'd like to talk about is reclaiming our sense of identity by embracing everything as a part of who we are. It is saying that yes, the depression is a part of who I am. The mania is a part of who I am. It makes me who I am. It makes me creative. It makes me energetic. It makes me really who I am, and it is okay to fall out of balance, but at the same time, we don't want to stay out of balance for too long, because a lot of us know that when we are in the manic state, there's a lot of creativity, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of productivity. But we also know that if we stay at that high for too long, well, then things can become imbalanced. Our sleep, our relationships, our speech, our emotions, and then things get out of control. And so instead of rejecting that's that's like something that is ill, that is icky, that's a disability, it's a part of who we are. And it's a level of energy that is okay to fall into, but not for too long, because sometimes it's out of our control. It's traumatizing to get stuck in those states for very long, because mania is very intense and it's fun in the beginning, but it's too much at some point. And in the same vein, depression helps us to slow down. It forces you to slow down. And so when I'm not as productive as I would like to be, I say to myself, wonderful, like my body has this mechanism of slowing me down. When I refuse to, my body says, hey, slow down, you need rest. But then if I ignore that call, if I ignore that warning sign for too long, then my body goes into severe depressive state, into a severe battery saver mode, and that's where things get bad. And so I want a sense of embracing. Part speech is a kind of like a different way to go about it. It's a way of disassociating ourselves from the diagnosis of I am bipolar. But this, when we develop the language of balance, of energetic balance, that mania and depression are parts of who I am, and they are simply me when I am in an imbalanced state. And that's really one way to go about it, to reclaim a sense of who you are, and then to strive towards defining balance, reaching balance, and maintaining balance. So with that being said, I offer you this teaching. Let us do a little breathing, let's do a little movement for today, and this will be our last YouTube session. So if you're watching right now, if you're watching the recording, stay tuned on the Instagram, on TikTok, and on the emails, and we'll be sending out an announcement on, next week we will start on Google Hangout, and that way I'll be able to see you, I'll be able to talk to you, and we'll be able to get to know each other, and this will be the community aspect of Bipolar Harmony. So I'm still dealing with my knee injury, so I'm going to be doing some modified positions, but let's go ahead and come into easy pose. Easy pose is where we bring our left foot in and our right foot in front. I think my knee actually feels good enough to do it today. So I'll join you all. I'm going to bring my right knee in so I can protect my meniscus. And I'm going to bring my left foot in the front, and you'll feel a little bit more edginess in the knee that is out front. So let's go ahead and anchor ourselves into the ground. Imagine that we are a tree, planting our roots in the soil, becoming firm with Mother Earth. We're going to straighten our spine like a tree trunk. We'll relieve the tension on the neck. We'll relax our face, our cheekbones, our jaw, our eyebrows. And with our shoulders, what we'll do is we'll bring our hands to the center of our chest. We'll move them to our shoulders to open up our chest, to bring down our arms, and again, to imagine that our head is afloat on water. And just by doing this, you can feel the engagement of the stomach. And now we'll bring our awareness to the breath. Breathe deeply, diaphragmatically. By now, thoughts that are swimming in our mind have come and crashed into our awareness. Let them wash over like the waves of the ocean, and bring the awareness back to the breath. Notice the mundane qualities of the air coming in and out of your nostrils. What's the temperature? What's the moisture level? What's the smell? By noticing the mundane details of our surroundings, it anchors us into the present moment. And when we are in the present moment, we aren't worrying about all of the griefs of the past, and we are not imagining or fantasizing about the infinite possibilities of the future. And so we begin to sense a feeling of joy by being in the moment. But also what I've noticed is when taking a temporary pause from all of the things that we're reviewing about the past and planning about the future, it actually helps declutter. It helps with the prioritization, and it actually helps with problem solving to step away from our challenges, our griefs, our anxieties for just a moment. And then for us, those of us who are prone to energetic imbalance, it also helps quiet our mind, our racing thoughts. So it's a sort of cleansing by just noticing mundane details in the present moment. Let's take our hand to our belly and our other hand to our chest. And when we inhale, we're going to inflate the belly, then inflate the chest. And then when we exhale, exhale and deflate both. So ready? Take a deep inhale. And exhale. Deep inhale. And exhale. Deep inhale. And exhale. Bring our hands together. Inhale up. And exhale, bring the hands down. Inhale up. And exhale down. Inhale up. And exhale down. We're going to generate some heat in our core with some twists. So inhale up. And now bring your right hand to the left of your left knee. Inhale up. Left hand to the right of the right knee. Inhale up. And down. Feel the energy of your body flowing with more vigor, being distributed evenly, not getting congested in the brain area, not getting congested in the chest area, and allowing for that congestion to flow into other parts of that body, of your body. Feel the other parts of your body wake up. And once you're here, one more with your hands up, raise your left hand higher, raise your right hand higher. Continue to breathe deeply, diaphragmatically. And this in yoga is called bringing awareness to the body. Noticing where all the tightness is, because the tightness is where the energy is being blocked. And that becomes a signpost for some kind of mental or emotional block. So if you find a tight area, ask yourself, what is this telling me? For example, let's bring our hands down. For example, I've had a rough couple of days at work, and I have quite a bit of tension in my neck and shoulders. So that tells me I've really been holding it in. I've been not breathing deeply during the intensity of work. And that's okay. Let's roll our necks clockwise. Continue to breathe into the spaces that you are opening up in your neck. And once you come to the front, straighten the spine, broaden the shoulders again, and rotate the other way. I'm going to take my right hand, bring it to my left, drop my right shoulder onto my right knee. Yep. And then raise my hand up, look up, look down, look up, look down, look up, and look down. Bring my left hand to my right knee. I'm going to drop my left shoulder onto my left knee. down, look up, look down, look up, look down, and come back to the center. We'll make some nice circles to kind of open up our hips a bit more, open up that lower spine where there might be congestion from sitting all week if we have a sedentary lifestyle. But before we do that, we're going to balance our hips by switching our feet. So if your left foot has been out in front, bring your right foot to the front. And if it's the opposite, then just make the switch. So I'm going to use a little prop to help my knee. And from here, I'm going to bring my chest over to my right knee. I'm going to lean forward, come over to my left knee, and make some nice big circles. Once I come to the front again, I'll switch over the other way. All right. Now that we've done a little status check on how our body is feeling, let's go ahead and fire up our core. Come up to our feet. And from here, we're going to come into fierce pose. And the way we come into fierce pose, also known as chair pose, is bringing our feet hip distance apart, or you can also bring your feet together. Whatever you like, bring your feet. I like to do hip distance apart, and from here, I'm going to send my hips back, raise my hands up, and I want to be able to see my toes. And from here, push down, send my hands back, look up. So inhale down, and exhale, look up, shine the chest forward. Inhale down, and exhale. Inhale down, and exhale. Continue to do this at your own pace, sinking deeper into your chair and aspiring to keep your back as straight as possible. Wonderful. That gets the heart pumping a little bit, getting into that aerobic state where we begin to burn fat, where we begin to exercise the heart a bit. It's really healthy for the heart to be in the aerobic state of around 120 beats per minute. So we fired up our quads, and Let's go ahead and now strengthen them a bit more by coming into chair pose and holding the pose for a good 3 breaths. So inhale down and stay here for a good 30 seconds. And we come back up. Ooh, nice and juicy, huh? All right, let's bring a little movement by swinging our arms as we twist our body, making little fists, and punching our kidneys. Not a hard punch, but a little soft. If you want, you can move your hand around to another part of the body that is calling for attention. Wonderful. You do some nice open the chest, close. I'm going to bring my hands behind my back like this. I'm going to bring my hands behind the back, straighten my arms, straighten my elbow. I'm going to look up, open up my throat muscles. Take a deep inhale. If you cough like I do normally, that's okay. And from here, what I'm going to do is, with my hands still clasped behind my back, I'm going to bring them over to my left side. And from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt my head over to the right side to open up my neck a bit more. And breathe into that space. Now that the blood is pumping a bit more vigorously, there's a bit more heat, you'll notice ever so slightly more space in the neck. The reason I focus on neck a lot is that's where a lot of tension becomes stored, and then ultimately it leads to headaches and migraines. And so while, in addition to drinking plenty of water and staying away from light, a good way to relieve tension, headaches, and migraines, which is a big comorbidity with BPD, is to exercise the neck. Come back to the center. I'm going to bring my clasped hands over to the right. And from here, I'm going to tilt my head over to the left side. And allow gravity to do its work of pulling my 8-pound head down, creating space right here in my neck. Wonderful. Now from here, we'll raise our hands up, and without bending our knees, forward fold into, and aspire to bring our chest to our knees. Grab hold of opposite elbows Swing your head yes. Swing your head no. And allow for gravity to bring more and more space in your spine. You might be up here, you might be all the way down from the ground. Wherever you are, it's okay. These days, I've become incredibly inflexible because of the weight gain from weightlifting and the soreness, and my body's going through a lot of changes. And it's pretty cool to see that you can lose something that you had, but you can also reclaim it. So I'm in the process of reclaiming my flexibility. Bring your hands down to your toes and allow for relieve the tension of the neck. Really let go of the weight of your head. And slowly come back up. Allow for the blood that has rushed to the head to come down. Inversions are one of the more special things about yoga. All right, we'll come down and we'll come into what I call the balancing yoga pose for bipolar disorder patients. It is called cat-cow. It is one of the most amazing ways to rebalance ourselves. And so the way we do it, it starts at the tailbone and ends at the top of our crown. So I'm going to get into cow first, I'm going to raise my tailbone, drop my stomach, shine my heart forward, raise my head, look up, and then to get into cat, you start from the back again, drop the tailbone, arch the spine, drop the head, and exhale. So inhale cow, and exhale cat. Inhale cow, and exhale cat. Inhale cow, and exhale. We'll take some more pauses in between inhaling and exhaling. So deep inhale. And exhale. Deep inhale. And exhale. Deep inhale. And exhale. Deep inhale. exhale. From here, I will widen my knees, sit down, and extend my hands forward. Bring my head to the ground. We'll come up, and from here, we'll do the opposite motion of sending our hips forward into upward facing dog. And from here, we'll come into downward facing dog, pedal the knees, plank pose. Come down. Inhale up. And back into downward facing dog. I'll drop my knees. Now from here, what I'm going to do, change my posture, my pose, but you can stay here, is I'm going to come into plank pose. I'm going to come into downward facing dog. I'm going to widen my stance. I'm going to bring my hands together a bit closer, like halfway, and I'm going to take my right hand and grab my left ankle, and from here I'm going to extend my left hand up. I'm going to look up, I'm going to look down. Look up, look down, look up, and look down. I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to grab my left ankle, I'm going to reach for the sky, look up, look down, look up, and look down. And from here, I'm going to grab both elbows, hang my head, and just hang out. And again, elongate my spine, elongate my neck. And breathe deeply. Here, I'm going to walk my hands back into plank pose, come down, upward facing dog, and from here I'll bring my knees down, wider than my hips, and come back into child's pose. Do a quick time check. All right. So from here, we'll come back to where we started. And we'll come into our final meditation. So you can sit down as I am, or lie down. Do whatever you feel is right for you. And close your eyes. We began by bringing our awareness to the sense of smell. So now let us bring our awareness to the sense of touch. Breathe deeply, diaphragmatically, and identify one spot that your body is making contact with the ground. And simply observe. Now let's take awareness to 3 parts where our shirt is touching our skin. The right side of my body is really seeking attention right now. So those are the 3 parts that I have my awareness on. Wondering what to do, where to go, the answer is nothing to do, nowhere to be, except for this moment, in the here, in the now. And sometimes, like flies on fresh meat, raw meat, thoughts just come. That's okay. Shoo those thoughts away gently. Try to distance those thoughts to create emptiness, to create space in between thought after thought after thought after thought. And find that space in between each thought and seek to expand it. as we conclude our practice for today, I want to tie everything back into the topic of our little talk in the beginning, which is reclaiming our identity after receiving a bipolar disorder diagnosis. Who am I? Am I my symptoms? Am I my side effects? What does it mean when I get happy? Does it just mean that I'm manic and I should reject it? And what does it mean when I get sad and am I just depressive and it's just something that's an illness? What I've invited you all and myself to do is embrace all of those things as a part of who you are. And while they are states that are pretty intense and not ones to stay in and celebrate for too long, they are things when we go into those altered states of consciousness, we come back with gems. We come back with empathy. We come back with, strength and stamina. And we do come back with some pain. And so those things make us much more empathetic once we do regain balance. They help us to see the world through the lens of pain, suffering, and often becomes inspiration for poetry, for art, for music. And it brings us into deeper awareness of the human condition, for not just ourselves, but what others might be going through as well. I conclude this final YouTube live broadcast by saying that it's been a delight building BP Harmony. It's still a small company, and I've had a handful of clients and a few sales online. But that's okay, because I know that the people I end up finding, they benefit from the content, they benefit from the guidance, because I needed it 5 years ago. I needed it, and I was just talking to a friend who has bipolar disorder, and they mentioned that when you go out on the internet, the resources are so few and scattered. And so if you are watching this, and you or someone you love is dealing with the ups and downs of bipolar disorder, then Bipolar Harmony is the place for you. I've got resources such as books, such as recorded classes, as well as this bipolar disorder recovery group, which is hosted every Sunday at 10 a.m. online, and also here in Austin, Texas, live in person if you would like to join. So with that being said, thank you so much. I actually have my laptop today, so I can check for comments, questions, concerns, show chat, and currently there are no questions. So I'll see you on Google Hangouts next week, and we'll continue there. So take care, and until next week, be well. Whatever it is that you're going through, it will pass. Recovery is possible. I believe in you. I believe with the right help, with the right support, you can get through this difficult period in life. Please reach out to me at info@bpharmony.com. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on TikTok, but email is really the best way to get a hold of me. So info@bpharmony.com, and check us out at bpharmony.com. We've got some cool stuff there to help you in your recovery journey.